Welcome to Bitcoin Escape Plan. This is not investing advice, purely for education and entertainment purposes. I'm Jacob. Let's get into the chart. So the topic of today's video is Bitcoin boom or bust. So we're going to be talking about what is the most likely scenario based on the higher time frame charts, given just kind of where we are at this late stage of the cycle. We'll also be comparing that to previous cycles. If you are enjoying the content so far, give me a like and a subscribe, and feel free to ask questions in the comments down below, and I will happily answer them. Also, shout out to the last person who taught me how to use the shift measurement tool, because that's going to be huge today. We're making level ups. All right, let's get into it. So on the weekly chart, which actually, let's start on the lower time frame. I think I'm going to start doing this in videos where I'm going to talk about the lower time frame first. So we're going to get you quick value for the next 4 hours. This is really what you got to look at. So for the next 4 hours, this is what's been happening. So we had another retest of 86.1, and it seems like we're well above it at the moment, but this is what's happening currently is the Bollinger Bands are tightening, which means we're going to snap one way or the other. The trend has been overwhelmingly to the downside for a while on the 4 hour chart. So that's what we're looking for in the next 4 hours, is specifically how do we react to 86.1. And this fib pivot actually just opened up. I've never seen this before. This is my first time seeing it. 87.7. So that would be what we're looking at towards the upside. And it looks like that's because it broke the Bollinger Band earlier today while I was out being a fiat slave. Anyways, that's what you need to focus on for the short term. Let's get back to the long term of the video. So we didn't quite close where we wanted to. So we closed at 86.8. It's better than 86.1, which that's the level that I had from over here. So let's take a look at why I was highlighting that. So this is end of March, and this is the closing candle area right there. And as you can see, we wick through that, we wick to that, we wick just above that, and that's what gives us permission to go higher. So super important level, really important level. Pretty much every one of these weeks interacts with it, other than this one. This one failed, that's why I dropped lower. But otherwise, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks where that was the level that mattered the most, besides these two guys. But we haven't currently really interacted with those as much from a candle. We have wicked to it, but we have not had a candle blow it. But I would imagine that's probably what we're going to see this week, is we're going to see a push down past this guy again, unless we get a ton of upside volume tomorrow, which is possible. We got a good amount of volume right here on the anchored volume profile, if you see that. So it's possible that we don't drop much lower than that, and then everybody wants to fill out this part of the range here and here. But realistically speaking, we're probably going to get another reattempt down here at the 80K, just because that is both a weekly and a monthly fib pivot. And obviously it is the end of November coming up. So it's very important for us to see, does this week have enough volume to push down to, say, here? Then that's a bullish sign where we're going to snap up to the upside. Or does it push down below? Because then we're fucked and it's going to continue going lower. And the next one is all the way down here, 53, which I don't think is going to happen personally. I think it's more likely that we see strength somewhere in here, and that gives us permission for a relief rally, which will send us back up to this guy, which is 106.7, which I've talked about a million times. If you follow me on Threads, you know I've talked about 106.7 so many times, a million times. Anyways, so that's what we're looking for in the weekly time frame, is we need to see, basically strength above, I would say, 95. That's the anchored volume profile right here. That's the point of most volume on the chart in this region. So we really need to start seeing the price close above that to give us any hope of a relief rally. And I am still of the opinion that a relief rally would not necessarily be indicative of a higher high. It would be more likely that we are going to get, let's see. So this is the precedent that we have in the past. So as you can see, that puts us at about 122. It's slightly lower, but I have a line there, so I'm going to fuck it up. So this is what I'm doing. That's the precedent that we have, and I talked about this in the previous videos. I'll go back and I'll take a look real quick. This is 2024. If we go back all the way, let me hide the drawings real quick. Hide the fib pivots. We go back all the way over to here. This is specifically what we're looking at, in my opinion, is this guy. This is the last time we had a clear candle close below the weekly SMA, which actually, realistically, we got this, now that I'm thinking about it. So hold your horses real quick, everybody. We're way below it. So I gotta go to the monthly time frame for a minute. So the monthly, we're not done yet. And this is why I'm saying this week I think is going to be really crucial. It's not totally clear from this past week if we have what we need to have here. So this guy here, we really need the month to close above about 87.3. And this is actually what we were looking for. So this has already happened now, essentially. If we think about this being the top this time around, which it was October 8th or 10th or 16th or whatever the fuck it was when we went to 126, that would be, obviously this is 2021, but that would be the correlation there. And then we started dropping down already in November. Essentially, we've touched the SMA in November. So it would have been like a big green candle and a big red candle all at once. Obviously, as you can see, it was much more choppy. And then we had a big red candle all at once. So there's a good possibility still of a relief rally if we can close, say, above here, 88.5 or higher. Really, I would be stoked about here or higher, 93.2. But we won't really know until the middle of the week. We'll kind of see, how the market is feeling. Fear and greed was at like all-time lows, basically lower than the FTX crash, which, for context of anyone who wasn't around back then, the FTX crash is here. So we're talking about we've already been below the monthly SMA for a period of almost a year at that point, of about 8 to 10 months at that point. Whereas now, we're getting to the bottom of the fear and greed on the first time that it interacts with the SMA. So I don't study that chart that often. I think it's kind of a waste of time, to be honest. I'd rather look at the actual price. That's going to give me more information. But I believe the fear and greed index was at all-time lows for like 8 months last time, which would correspond to all of this. Like, that's what was going on. Everybody was freaking out that whole time. So that may be what we're about to see. Everybody's freaking out that whole time as we come down to here. Which, if you really look at it that way, for anybody who's like afraid, this is good actually. So for anybody who's afraid of the price going to 10K or 20K or whatever the fuck crazy numbers people are talking about, it's not going to happen. So if you look at this is the monthly Bollinger Band, and it doesn't break below it, dude. Even you got to go back all the way to here, 2016 and earlier. So I don't know why charts do this, but sometimes it just doesn't let you do it from the very beginning. But from here, it's already attached to the US dollar by this point. We've started to get other altcoins by this point. It's legally property in the US by around here. We didn't touch the bottom of the Bollinger Band. The Bollinger Band widens out a ton as we're going higher during that cycle. And then same thing as we're rocketing up higher there. This is what I'm talking about, this little dip. This little dip. So you can see we drop down towards it, and that's the March of 2020 crash, but still are nowhere near it. And then this guy here, this is right around when Celsius and Voyager and BlockFi all went bankrupt. That's the first time that we really the first time that we interact with the bottom of the Bollinger Band on the monthly time frame on this chart at all. And then same thing, these are really nowhere near where it actually opened up to. So for anyone who's like talking to you and you see online somebody's talking about, prices down here or down here, there's no historical precedent for that looking at the chart. And you got to remember, as of over here, it's attached to the US dollar, and it's done pretty well since being attached to the US dollar. It's been a pretty clear upside. So there would be no precedent for it to go. For anyone who's saying it's going to go, below 20K, they're delusional, because it's always whenever it bottoms. So this is This is the bottom over here. It's like 32, 35K. The next bottom, 15.4K. So considerably higher. Let me see if I can get an accurate read on that. Hold for measuring. Still not doing it right. Shift. There we go. Yeah. So that's still, you're still talking about like a 300% gain from the bottom last time to the bottom this time. So if we were to assume, let's assume that it's not going to be quite as intense this time. We'll do just 150% gain. 150% gain, you're still talking about a 40K Bitcoin being the likely bottom. And that's if it's half as resilient as it was last cycle. And we have we have way more narratives now than we ever did back then in favor of more bullish scenarios. So I just don't really see it. So the lowest I currently believe, based on just the monthly bottom here, which again, it's always possible. You can see here, we go up, we go down, we start going down. The Bollinger Band is still opening up this direction. It's not sloping downward. It doesn't start sloping downward until we're at peak fear. Peak fear over here. Same thing. Peak fear over here. So when it starts to flatten out. And in this scenario over here, it doesn't even bend back down. It doesn't start bending back down until we're already way on the rise. And obviously, if the price is way up here, it's not randomly going to teleport down there. It doesn't make any sense. It's not going to happen. That's also a negative number. So it's literally never going to happen. So anyone who's telling you that it's going to go to 20K or lower doesn't know what they're talking about, including Andrew Tate. I know that was a popular one, that it's going to crash to 26K or whatever. I don't know why the fuck you would take crypto advice from Andrew Tate, but whatever. That's another video. So that's what I would be paying attention to on the higher time frame specifically. Is we've already had an interaction with the SMA. In April was the last time where we were going to potentially have an interaction with the SMA, and it held above it. As you can see, same as in 2021. And then this was the peak, and then it hit it on the downside. Now, this likely was the peak, and we just hit it a couple times, and now this is going to be best case scenario. We have a relief rally to somewhere in here, potentially. Maybe it punches back up here, but more likely I would think we get stalled out at about 105.6, just below the 106.7K pivot, my beloved 106.7K pivot over here. And then we would actually, over the course of the next 3 months, would start breaking down lower. But it is entirely possible that when they start, ending quantitative tightening, people were talking about this as correlating it to 2019. So we go take a look at 2019, which I got to say, it doesn't really look the same to me. Obviously, we are coming out of the bear market lows, which, it's not really the same circumstances for now. It's very, very different than now. We've been stair-stepping for literally since late 2022, early 2023, we've been stair-stepping the whole time. So 2019 looks more like 2023 to me. But I believe this is the last time where we had quantitative tightening easing. So more money started to pump in. And then obviously it chopped for a bit during COVID. And then money printer go brrr, and that's where the price went. So there's a good possibility that we're going to see this. But, here, we were flirting with the monthly SMA for a long time. That's a period of basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like 9, 10-ish months where we're close enough to it. We're very close to it. And we still haven't seen, over here, we saw a cross below, and then we saw it cross back above. And we really haven't seen that yet. And that will take several months. So it's possible that we start chopping around and get down to here. I talked about this in the other video. I can believe, that this level is super important, 71 to about 60, even like 54, I can believe. If we are going to continue dropping, it's going to stop there. It's going to stop there. It's probably going to chop from there to there for a period of time before it would ever go lower. And if it is going to go lower, historically speaking, that would be about a year from whenever the top is, which in our case is October. So it would take until October of next year. Let's try this again. That's more than a year. Where's 365? There you go. 365. So that would take us to the theoretical bottom here, which would require that Bollinger Band opens up to the downside as well. That's less than a 70% retracement. Right there is a 70% retracement. It's at 35K. Now, granted, I picked a random place on here. I didn't pick the actual Pico top, but whatever. The point is, it's somewhere in this range. Probably this guy. Look at that guy. Look at that. Look at that. Super important. Super important. Super important. Fucking beautiful. That's what you want to look like when you're drawing a line. That's what you want to look for. It's multiple points of candles closing next to each other, kissing candles, as they say. Okay, so that's a monthly time frame. I think I've rambled enough about that. I probably rambled enough for the video already, but I'm gonna go take a look at the weekly time frame one more time because we're way uglier here, and I think our best case scenario is we need to get back up here, which, like I already said, we have a decent amount of tension preventing us from ever getting there. 106.7 is really, I think our only hope is, say it continues to break down into the end of November. We need it to close above 80 or we're really in trouble for November. It's not a good look for December, January, or really February at that point. We're going to need to continue getting pulled lower, just according to the monthly time frame. On the weekly, this is what I'm really hoping for. And again, we closed just above where I wanted us to. That guy is where I wanted us to close. And we did. We closed right above it. So best case scenario here is we go to like here-ish, not quite to... Oh, yeah, look at that. That lines up with those guys. That would be best case scenario, is the week doesn't go lower than that and realistically makes a run back for here, about 94K. And again, if we have our drawings on, 96K is the most volume on the chart. So that's where we actually want to get back to. That's our only hope for setting up for one more move at the end of the year, is if we have strength at 96K. So I think I've rambled enough for this video, but to summarize what I was talking about, essentially, we really want this week to not go much lower than 82.4K. It would be great if that was the bottom of the wick and if the actual body of the candle stayed above 86.1K, just like this guy did. Probably more likely that we get some body below that, and hopefully it's just enough of a body to pump up past here. But really anything less than 96K on this week is not great. It's not a good setup going into the end of the year. And that's what I would be paying attention to in conjunction with everything that I said on the lower time frame. Thank you so much for watching the video. Please like and subscribe. And again, feel free to ask questions. I'm happy to take a look at this and other charts. I do tend to ramble a lot about Bitcoin itself, but I am watching a lot of other things that are crypto related or stock related that kind of moves with crypto. So let me know